Please welcome to the stage Business Development Manager at CJ, Kelly Harman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session about marketing in the Metaverse. I'm really excited to have you guys here. Every year, CJ invites experts to come in and help spur conversation around the future of affiliate marketing. Back in 2018, the topic was augmented reality. In 2019, we actually had HTC Vive out here with a setup so our guests could experience virtual reality firsthand. And today, we're very excited to be welcoming McKenna Sweazey to the stage to talk about the Metaverse and Web3. McKenna is a speaker, an author, and a consultant, and she helps brands who are entering into the Metaverse and Web3. And today, she has a fantastic presentation for us. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage McKenna Sweazey.
Thanks. It's a good song. Hi, everyone. Ooh, missing a slide there, am I? No, okay. Sorry. Hi, I'm McKenna. Thanks for coming to my session. And we are going to talk today about marketing in the Metaverse. And you might be thinking, why are we talking about this now? We're not in the Metaverse yet. That's not where we're spending our time. You have this idea from like Ready Player One or Snow Crash that it's a place where we're going to go and we're going to spend all day, live, work, eat, sleep, socialize. But there are a lot of places that are going to happen whether or not we get there. We're heading in that direction. And I'm going to talk to you about the ways this is already permeating our lives, and particularly how that applies to content, media, and of course, then advertising. So, what is Web3? It's kind of funny that Kelly gave all those examples because, of course, Web3 is a whole bucket of things, and people use a lot of different terms and objections to what it is and it isn't. And I'm not going to be too particular about it today. For me, it's really just the direction of travel we're heading for both media and content and how we spend our lives online. And that means also a big merging of physical and digital, which can be the Metaverse, which we'll talk a bit more about later. That can be augmented reality. It can be virtual reality. It does not have to be augmented or virtual reality. It can be NFTs or any cryptocurrency or blockchain technology, and obviously any type of digital goods that are a part of these worlds. So it is also the evolution of media. So if we want to look at media from its inception and say originally media is like a newspaper and it's read-only and it's one-to-many, but it's relatively limited distribution, it's very regional. Then you have online media, same idea, but distribution skyrockets with the advent of the internet. Then you have social media, and now social media is read-write. I'm contributing back as a user, and the content is going in both directions. But there's still major platforms that are holding on to the information and kind of acting as choke points. Web3, you could call the individual media, meaning that creators are going to have more control over the platform. It's going to be read-write, but instead of one-to-many, it's going to be many-to-many, and each creator is going to be able to own their platform in an ideal world. And potentially that will change the way, well, certainly will change the way we monetize media and the way we visit it and the way we interact with it. So, where does Web3 happen? And again, this goes back to a lot of this is happening now, and it might not be the idealized end state of the Metaverse, but these are things that have the trends of the direction we're moving in. So obviously, gaming, I'm sure many of you are gamers, or if you have children, you know gaming. And many of these worlds are Metaverse-type worlds where people are interacting already in what we might consider a Metaverse. Socialization spaces, same idea. Places like Decentraland and the Sandbox are 3D immersive worlds that might be like a Metaverse and are going to have a lot of the same user behaviors. But you also have other socialization spaces that are very much associated with Web3, like Discord, a chat app made famous by gamers, which is actually not Web3 at all, but it's very much tied to the ethos of Web3. Hosted spaces, brands can have 3D immersive virtual stores. Then social media. You know, when we're talking about physical goods, profile pictures, NFTs, one of the big use cases is putting it as your profile picture on Twitter. So, you know, the traditional social media platforms play a huge role in what we're seeing as the advent of Web3 or Web 2.5, as people like to bat around. And then marketplaces. The buying and selling of virtual goods happens not only in gaming spaces, but on specific marketplaces that are only for these virtual goods. So we will quickly just define the metaverse. And again, it's a loose term. And there's parts that, as I said, the actual manifestation may surely differ. But these are sort of the ideas. So it's persistent. What happens in the metaverse stays having happened when it reacts to people. Again, it's reactive, that's the next part. So if you go in and you make changes, you as a user can make those changes. It's every day, it's tied into every part of our life. Social, you can go in and interact with other human beings. User defined, so what the users do is what makes the changes in the metaverse. Interoperable, and this is where we start to get into like an idealized state. So interoperable meaning that if I were to buy a dress in the metaverse, I would be able to take it to all the different places in the metaverse. And as we look at it now with, say, gaming, if I buy a skin or a cosmetic in Fortnite, let's say by Balenciaga, which I'll mention later, I can't bring that into Roblox because they're not interoperable. So in an idealized world, we'll have this interoperability and this ability to own digital goods that persist across different worlds. Anyways, that is not the case yet. And that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of debate over what is a metaverse. Limitless, number of users won't be capped. Now, most of these platforms, the number of users is absolutely capped in any one world. So there might be 50 people in the world that you're interacting in Decentraland, even though there are actually, 5,000 logged in at the same time, which is not exactly the experience you imagine, but this will be surely fixed as computing power increases. And then decentralized, lastly, this is hugely important, and the ethos of Web3 is that there won't be platforms like there often are today that own access and that are sort of throttling everyone's access to these places where we socialize online. So there'll be user-owned and there'll be distributed ownership. Again, that's an idealized state, and no one knows as we stand here if that's where we're going. So examples of metaverse-esque platforms. Again, I'm not going to say these are a metaverse by any means, but this is Roblox. And if you have small children, you definitely know what Roblox is because Roblox has 200 million monthly active users. This is the British Fashion Awards in Roblox. So already activities and events by brands and in commerce-centric activities are happening in Roblox all over the place. I have some fun stats. I think there's a lot of important stats about Roblox, but 67% of users are under 16. This is what the youth of today, those 200 million monthly active users, are doing, and they are working in a persistent 3D world where they're playing games and socializing with their friends. An important fact about Roblox is that it is not a game, it is a world where anyone can create a game. So all of the games are user-created, often brand-created, but users as well. And that is what makes it very much metaverse-like. You can go in and you can create something, invite others to come explore the space that you've created. It also skews more female than many of the other platforms, which is important when we're talking about e-commerce. And 1 in 5 users update their avatar daily. There's a lot of fashion and beauty going on in Roblox, and we'll continue to see this as this generation grows up and persists into different worlds. This is another example of a socialization space. So Decentraland, I think I mentioned this before, but this is more akin to what you imagine a real metaverse would be in that it's user-owned, and so there's decentralized ownership. You can buy land, you can build on it, you can create things. Different art galleries have created art galleries. This is Selfridges, my favorite department store in London. They created a department store. Land was selling for millions of dollars in Ethereum. Obviously, post the crypto crash, that's not probably what the numbers are, but to be seen. And they hosted the first virtual fashion week. There's lots of concerts going on. This is an immersive, persistent virtual world where you can go and socialize and have, really most parts of your life, if you so wanted to, exist in Decentraland. Okay. So usually in a longer presentation, we'd actually have to talk about what the blockchain is, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to just say the blockchain is when you save information on a decentralized distributed network, and anyone can see that information. So we're just going to hold that there. So, because it's important to understand, when you own things that are digital, how do you own a piece of digital land? How do you own something that you can't touch that's a JPEG? And that's where you get to blockchain-based digital assets, like NFTs. So I'm sure you've all seen some of these NFTs before. Here's a Bored Ape. Those sell for millions of dollars, like Justin Bieber has one. This is the first tweet that was sold also for a lot of money. So it can be a piece of digital art, Bored Ape. It's public proof of ownership. So an NFT means non-fungible. That means there's only one of each item. They're pseudonymous, meaning that you purchase them using usually a crypto wallet, which is not tied to your real identity, but it is persistent with your ownership. An NFT functions as a signed receipt. So this piece of, let's say, ape artwork is not actually what you are buying. You're buying a receipt that says you bought that ape. And NFTs have something called a smart contract attached to them, which is essentially a program that runs when they are purchased on a different marketplace, which there's more to that, but I'll be simple here, which will say, give royalties to the original creator. So if you were the original artist there and I resell it for $1 million, you're gonna recoup 2%, which for those of you who work with creators, obviously it's really appealing for creators to know that as they get more successful and things are resold, they'll be able to recoup some of those revenue in the future. I don't know where I'm pointing. Okay. So now we have sort of a base layer, and we're going to talk about marketing trends. This is the fun part, in my estimation. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here for brands. It's pretty clear that in an immersive, persistent world, you can do things as a brand that you would not have been able to do, let's say 5 years ago. Some of them are immersive, some are creative, some are exclusive, and some of them are lucrative. Not all of them. So this is a really great example. Balenciaga is a French fashion house. They've been really on the forefront of a lot of these ideas, testing things out. This is actually from their fall-winter 2021 men's show, and they created a real video game that you could go in and play. It lasted for about a week. Super enticing visuals. Well, I don't know if enticing is the right word. Super intense and very in line with their brand ethos visuals. Obviously, the clothing and the shoes and the accessories were shown off, but actually that wasn't really the point. You got to sort of leap into the brand world, which is a really interesting idea, particularly if you're thinking about brands that put on fashion shows. This can put more people more immersed in the world that they're selling. Another opportunity is for brands to harness Web3 and extend into new communities. So I mentioned Fortnite, where it's very popular as well, like Roblox, to change your skin, which is your outfit. And Balenciaga, again, did another partnership and said that you could buy these specific Balenciaga skins. And that's really getting in with the gamers. It's a younger generation than they're perhaps used to selling to, and you're sort of buying that audience. So same is true. You may have seen recently Tiffany's was in the news with something called CryptoPunks, which is another very popular NFT project. And they essentially sold or minted in NFT lingo the opportunity to have your CryptoPunk turned into a piece of jewelry. And I thought this was kind of funny at first. And then I thought, if you are trying to sell engagement rings to fairly wealthy 30-year-old men and you don't have a great way to get in touch with them, these are the kind of people who are following CryptoPunks. And it's a great way to just get your name out there and make Tiffany look a little cooler. And that's a huge part of Tiffany's revenue is selling engagement rings, generally to men. Another awesome thing for brands in Web3 is that they can harness a different type of exclusivity. Because of the gaming culture and this idea that you have quests and that everyone is a hero and they're trying to achieve something, brands have taken that and put their own spin on it. So many brands have released their own video games. Louis Vuitton has done it 2 years in a row, which involved acquiring NFTs by learning about the brand story that were created by Beeple, this very famous NFT artist. This is Gucci, they've done a lot of projects, but this involves dripping out pictures via different partners' Twitter accounts that only have a little bit of brand identity. It's that strap right there. And if you know their brand identity super well and you follow these crypto Twitter accounts, you're going to have this idea that something is coming. And then the Discord starts blowing up and the Twitter starts blowing up. And for brands that have a very high price point for a lot of their goods but need to attract a younger consumer, this is a good way to start dripping it out via gamification, getting people excited, and getting the idea that Gucci is cool so that one day, when they're ready to buy loafers, they have or whatever, they have an affinity for the brand. And it's a different type of exclusivity because you have to be really into the brand, you have to be following all the right Twitter accounts, but you don't have to be spending money, and you certainly don't have to be buying $800 loafers. So, metaverse branding opportunities means you can sell more stuff, which is neat, and a lot of it has really good margins. So we'll talk about digital goods, phygital goods, which everyone hates that term, but I don't have a better one, and then the events and experiences. Okay, so this is embarrassing, but it gets a laugh. So digital goods, you can dress your PFP, as I mentioned. I'm sure you've seen on Twitter different people and celebrities using NFTs and to say who they are. It's sort of a tribal indicator. You can also get dressed for Zoom in digital outfits, which I highly recommend. It's very fast in the morning. This is me and Gemma Chan wearing a Balenciaga dress. Let's not do too much of a comparison there. Obviously, they have virtual jewelry brands, and for the people who are getting up on Zoom every morning, it's kind of fun to put on a piece of earring or a necklace that you don't actually have to physically own. These are obviously very high margin, usually. They attract new and different customers. Again, this is Roblox. Polo did like a Christmas pop-up, and they were selling these outfits for your avatars. They claim it really added to their e-commerce revenue that year, but they don't break it down. Obviously, again, the margins are high. It's a very young consumer base. And it's very low price point without diluting your brand and saying we're going to sell like a t-shirt much cheaper, and then you might devalue the brand. So those are digital goods. Phygital goods, this is new and exciting in many ways. So this is one example, and this is actually before Nike acquired Artifact Studios, but they have subsequently acquired them. They were making sneakers, releasing them as an NFT. Obviously, you jump through a lot of hoops to acquire the NFT. And then when you have the NFT, you are able to, if you want, burn it or send the NFT off into the ether and trade that for a shoe that's based on the NFT. Obviously, this drives a lot of hype. You can trade the NFT, you can trade the sneakers. Sneakerheads are well known for being one, at the forefront, and two, for being excited to try out new things. So this is an exciting opportunity for a twin, but you only hold on to one of them. You could do it for authentication. There are a lot of luxury brands that are looking into using an NFT that's embedded in the RFID chip so that the ownership of a, let's say, Hermes bag is known, and it prevents counterfeit and allows resale, also in jewelry. Another example, this one's a little weirder, but also cool. So this is called the Meta Real Mansion, and I believe it sold for $12 million, but I'm not sure. And you got a blank piece of land in Miami, and the contractor who was going to build you this beautiful house, I believe it was on the water, and a Decentraland version of the house. So if you like to invite people over to party at your house in Decentraland, you can also do that. Which, on the one hand, is weird and fun. On the other, I think, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about creators, but it allows, virtual worlds allow celebrities who are celebrities, influencers, anyone who's monetizing their self as their livelihood, to create an immersive place that doesn't have to be so invasive. Not everyone wants to be the Kardashians and have the cameras around all the time, but that sort of 360-degree view into an influencer's life allows for a lot of monetization opportunities and connection with your consumers. So having virtual homes, virtual spaces, is a really cool opportunity for those influencers. Which ties in nicely to products, events, and experiences. I think somebody's going to play here, is it? Oh, no, maybe not. Anyways, there are concerts in the metaverse. There are activities in the metaverse. You can host events. You can host work events. You can actually interact with those celebrities without having to fly them different places. So this is Metaverse Fashion Week, which is one very cool way to expose people to fashion, art, experiences. An important part of that is something called a POAP, which is a proof of attendance protocol. And it's a type of NFT that you get from actually being in a place. Now, that place can be a virtual place. And it's a little bit like a concert tee, but if the concert tee verified that you were actually there. So on one hand, it's cool, and you can show it off to your friends, and now that you can put these things on Instagram, woohoo, I was there, that's neat. The other thing that's neat is that it gives the brands a way to connect with you, because now your wallet has this POAP in it, and you've bought this through your cryptocurrency wallet. And as I briefly mentioned, everything on the blockchain that you do is public and distributed. So you can actually look at this and say, okay, who are the types of people that have come to our event, and what other things do they do? And that's sort of building up sort of a new type of CRM. Who are these users that are really crypto forward? So we'll talk about some creator trends. Ooh, yeah, that's the best part.
So, how much is my sandbox worth right now?
Your sand token?
Yeah, what's
just
my
your token?
Yeah.
4.8.
What did it start off at?
$300,000.
So it's at 4.8 million?
Yeah.
Cash. Hey, yo, Hit Boy. I think it's time for another one. Yeah.
Okay, so that illustrates a lot of things that I like about the metaverse. That was Snoop Dogg, for those of you who aren't aware. I really wanted to enter to that song, but it was too late to pull that off. So Snoop Dogg, as you can also tell from his call with his accountant, is a big investor in the metaverse. And it changes the way ownership of platforms work. If Snoop Dogg is actually an owner of this, so he owns some land in the metaverse, he wants people to go to the metaverse. And how does he do that? By creating a world in the metaverse and then filming his latest music video. This is for his most recent song. I don't know if it's most recent. I'm not that big a Snoop Dogg fan, but and that just introduces more people to this idea of the sandbox. So, and then he benefits, right? Because if there are more users in the sandbox, that land that he owns that was worth whatever, 4.8, is now going to be worth 5.8, 9.8, whatever. Snoop is getting rich off this. So how will influencers affect Web3? And I'll just say that my next slide is how will Web3 affect influencers, because I think there's two sides to this coin. So the first, as I mentioned, is ownership, right? If you own the land, literally land, that you are creating content on, that affects your take rate. Who you have to include when you're getting paid for, let's say, brand sponsorship. It affects how you behave. It affects really everything that creators are doing, how willing they are to invest in a platform. You have creators who are saying, maybe I don't want to invest in an audience on XYZ platform because I don't know what's going to happen. They could throttle my ability to get discovered, or they could change the revenue share. But if you own the land, that's not as likely to happen. The next question is ease of content creation. This is obviously, the bar is dropping for 3D immersive content creation, thanks to things like Epic Games and their Unreal Engine. It'll be a lot easier for everyone to create 3D immersive worlds, which is it's a change for many creators. That's not what they've gotten really popular doing, except for the gamers. But it's going to be an interesting evolution of where do we go when we go for content. Next up is audiences. I think this is, underrepresented, but the creators that go into Web3 first will define which audiences go to Web3 first. So like people who are into Snoop Dogg is a type of person. It's probably pretty comprehensive. And that's going to affect the original people entering Sandbox, right? You have a couple of creators who are big boosters. If you're a Paris Hilton fan, she's also really big into NFTs. And she has her own audience. I don't know how much overlap there is with Snoop Dogg. But different creators are diving really deep, with or without FTC disclosures, that's another question, into Web3 and Metaverse techniques, and that's going to define the audiences in the early goings, which is kind of fun and interesting to see which influencers are kind of going in this direction and getting excited. And then define new revenue streams, right? This is really hard to understand how this revenue stream is going to work. If you watch this music video in Sandbox, as it stands now, it's not like there's ads like there are on YouTube. How is that going to be monetized? And I think that means there's a lot of opportunity for creativity going forward. And it's hard to say. Obviously, it will be ad funded, I think, in many ways, but it will not look how it looks now. And then Web3 will also affect influencers. So revenue and reach, I think, is a really important, like, two sides of the same coin. If you do not have a platform that is guiding people in different directions, your reach is likely to be smaller. But if your take rate is higher, you would hope that creators would be able to, make the same amount of money doing the same things, or perhaps even more if you have artists who are selling NFTs to their super fans and they're getting $100 of revenue from a super fan as opposed to, $1 of ad revenue for 10,000 fans. I'm not great at math, so just assume that was better money. New skills, I mentioned obviously the different types of creation you'll have to go through. If you're doing 3D immersive creation, that's different types of content as well than we're used to. And here's one of my other favorites. This is a Farfetch ad campaign that they did probably on Instagram. The models are wearing virtual outfits, so they just sent them 3D files, and that is what they used for the ad campaign. So for anyone who's ever worked sort of in that part of the fashion industry, that is a lot of waste that is being stopped, and it's a lot cheaper, and you can do really fun, interesting things. And also, I guess we're all gonna be wearing Skims all the time underneath, because that's what you wear underneath a virtual outfit. Lastly, we'll have a continued rise of virtual influencers, because maybe you don't need real people in the metaverse to be influencers. So this is the artist formerly known as Lil Miquela, but I believe it is now just Miquela. She's matured. She was very popular early virtual influencer, but I think we will see a lot more of this because it gives brands, obviously, unparalleled control. So this is just another quick example that I think is really interesting. It's not a company I'm working with, but I know them pretty well, and they want to be sort of the Instagram of the metaverse, that you can just kind of scroll through these sort of persistent, immersive 3D places. It's going to be on your phone. It's actually launching this month. And these will be either stores or celebrity-owned, and you will get to go into Kim Kardashian's house and poke around in her closet. And obviously, you are going to get to buy things in her closet. Then you can go look in her fridge, and then you can buy the smoothies that she's offering. And you can see how this would be like very voyeuristically fun to poke around and buy things out of Kim's closet, or other people. It doesn't have to be Kim, but Kim will be in there. So this happens to be a traditional platform. In an ideal world, and particularly if platforms like Decentraland and the Sandbox do end up being what is the metaverse for us, they will be owned by the people who own the land underneath, and that will likely be, in that example, Kim herself. And she'll get to retain all of the profit without giving it to the platform that's hosting it. So that's really attractive if you're a creator. So these immersive experiences will inherently change the nature of content. I think we're definitely, no matter whether it's VR, AR, a metaverse or not, we are going towards a 3D type of content as computational power increases. There's another example, and it's like a very specific example, but I think really important for thinking about marketing, and particularly loyalty marketing. So this is a company, it's called Glow, and they allow you to give NFTs to your influencers and also just super fans. And then for those people to be able to accrue further tokens with their actions, such as tweeting, such as going into your house in Decentraland, and really monetizing their engagement, so giving more to your super fans. And then obviously it depends on the financial mechanics, but it could be cash, and that's actually how you pay people who are tweeting and boosting your brand, or it could be membership. And you say everyone who tweets about us and has X number of followers, they get 500 tokens, and once you get 1,000 tokens, you're now a part of our club, and you can come to our parties, or you can, contribute to our DAO, whatever it is. There's a lot of different ways that now you will have ownership of your fans and of your influencers, and they'll be able to take that ownership and in the relationship between monetizing yourself and monetizing the advertisers you work with, the creators, influencers, or super fans have a better way to hold on to the economics and the value that they are creating when they tweet you, when they go and visit your store, et cetera. So hopefully that was interesting and you thought, oh, okay, I can see where the metaverse is going with my marketing spend. I'm McKenna. If you are interested in this, I write about it all the time, metaXmoda. And now I think Kelly's back. Oh, you don't need that. Yeah, you do.
I don't think that. First, I just wanted to thank McKenna for being here today. I think one big takeaway for me was I would need to have a virtual closet so I can have my designer clothes for all of my Zoom meetings every week.
Just like in Clueless.
Yeah, instead of sweats. And unfortunately, we don't have time for a Q&A right now, but McKenna will be here, so if you guys want to chat with her after, feel free. And I just wanted to make one note, because I do feel like for some people in the room, the metaverse may feel like it's really far in the future or it doesn't apply to affiliate. But today, CJ is already doing work to expand and diversify the partnership opportunities that our brands have, whether that be through making connections with next tech partners like 3DM, or creating relationships with virtual influencers like we saw. And even your existing publisher partners, they are making inroads into the metaverse and Web3, and that will potentially be opportunities for you guys in affiliate. So while it does maybe feel far off, I think this is all stuff that folks who are managing affiliate programs can be looking at today and starting to develop opportunities for their own companies and brands. So thank you guys very much. If you want to learn more about what CJ is doing, feel free to find me as well.